The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
This is Justin from WRISTMEETRAZOR, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to have Mr. Justin Fornof. He's the vocals and bassist of WRISTMEETRAZOR. WRISTMEETRAZOR has a full-length album, Misery Never Forgets, that will be released January 18th via Prosthetic Records. WRISTMEETRAZOR consists of Jonah Thornton, Justin Fornof, and of course, Brian Prosser, vocalist and drummer of WRISTMEETRAZOR. So, Justin, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me on and being interested in the record and what we do.
Not a problem whatsoever. So let's dive right into this. How's it been working with Prosthetic Records so far?
It's been amazing. They're very, very supportive of what we do, and we know that what we do is not necessarily what they have been putting out over the past, couple of years. So the fact that they support us so much in what we do and how different it is made this all so much easier and smooth. Real fluid transition for us as a band to going from being unsigned to being on a fairly large label like Prosthetic.
Yeah, and plus this came together very quickly for you guys. I mean, this started like in 2017. I think Jonah.
Right, yeah.
Jonah put all this together, and then he added you, and then he added Brian. What do you guys bring to WRISTMEETRAZOR that may have been missing, man, that gave it that extra oomph for this band?
Well, when the band first, so I use the word band lightly. When Jonah first started the project, it was essentially like a bedroom band camp kind of project where he was just writing the songs, putting them out, and the whole beginning of the band was very vague. He never really said who was in it. There was never like a clear defined, like, this is my project thing for Jonah. It was just a thing he put out there, and he wanted to see, how people ended up observing it and what they took from it. When I saw it, I'd kind of assumed it was his project, and I had messaged him and talked to him about it. Both him and I were at a point where we were at one point in time in serious touring projects, and both of those ended up falling apart. And so we kind of were in this transitionary period where we were moving on to new things musically. And so I had messaged him about that and what his interest level was in turning it into a full-time project. He was interested, and I had a lot of aesthetic ideas. And I feel like when you go through the records, when you start at the demo and you go to the 2 EPs, and now when you go to the full-length record, you could really see how much it's evolved from the beginning, which has been a natural progression, but also has been a mixture of different ideas and different influences that all of us bring. So mostly what I bring to the band, I think, is a lot of the more eclectic stuff. Jonah was very into stuff like Screamo, like the late 90s, 2000s Screamo scene. He really liked bands like Neil Perry and Conan Armada, and that's what we started the band to sound like. But what it sounds like now is definitely a mixture of a lot of different influences, including a lot of the metalcore bands that we grew up with, like Zayo and 18 Visions and Poison the Well and Hope's Fall and stuff like that. And so it has a lot of different elements to it that I feel like wouldn't have happened. I mean, who knows if it would have ever even became a real band without the rest of us. I think we like to consider that the band started when we all got together. So, yeah, I feel like we add a lot to what it is.
Kind of like a blessing in disguise. Like, you guys were falling out of your two bands and then got into this, and now it just all happened. Things happen for reasons, man.
Right. No, that's kind of how I see it too. It was truly kismet that we got together and did this band the way we did it. And the fact that, and also like both of us were kind of almost at the end of our ropes because we've been doing music for so long, and we felt like we were both individually in bands that were going to be long-term bands that were going to make it. And so to have both of our projects fall apart was devastating. And so to have this be the very next thing is, like I said, it feels fateful almost.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Your first single was Love Letter from a Loaded Gun. Was it hard to choose between the current set of songs on this album? Which one would be the first single and video? And also, what did you want that first song to say for Wrist Meet Razor when people saw it and heard it?
So we're very, very picky when it comes to how we want to be presented and what we want to present to everyone else. So the first single, XOXO, Love Letter from a Loaded Gun, was chosen because it is maybe the most frantic and energetic song on the record. It's amongst other songs that sound like that one, but that song in particular I felt was such a departure from where we were as a band when we were releasing EPs and we were unsigned to where we are now. It's aggressive and adds so many different elements we weren't really using before. So it felt like that was going to be the song that was going to like be a shot in the arm that kind of already had preconceived notions about us, or real like eye-opening first take for people that hadn't heard of us before. So I feel like we really focused on the energy side of the band for the first single, and then with the following singles we kind of let it almost like level off to where we were a little bit more in our comfort zone of what we were doing before, with just new takes on it, just further evolved. And then now that the record's coming out, people will be able to hear how much different things that we do on the record.
And I'm sure you guys have gotten burnt out on these songs somewhat, because, I mean, you guys sat on these for a very long time. But I'm sure when you guys see these reviews come in of people digging it and things like that, that has to put the excitement back into this for you guys and get the juices flowing again on this album.
Oh, 100%. This is the moment that I think is the big payoff for all the stressful nights and how long it takes to record a record, and then how truly long it takes to release a record on a record label like Prosthetic. It's, when you're unsigned, you write the songs, record them, and then put them out almost right away. And like, there's no real drop off for you. Like, it's all one big like burst of energy. But when you're putting it out on a bigger label, it's drawn out so far that, I mean, like you said, we've had these songs we began writing some of the songs on this record in late 2017. Wow. So some of these songs are honestly from our first year as a band. So to now finally be releasing them is awesome for sure. And it's something that we've kind of had to adjust to the different length of time between releases. But I think right now we're really excited about having everyone hear it and seeing what they think.
You guys have 2 previous EPs that's out right now. Are there any songs off those EPs that are on this album, or are these all fresh ones?
These are all fresh ones. As a band, I think we feel like it's a bit cheap to re-record songs. I don't think people really want to buy that. I think if they want to hear some of the songs that they like off the EPs, they can come see us live, because we play a handful of those live. But as far as the record goes and buying records, I think you want to hear new music. So that's kind of what we aim to give the audience every time we put out a record.
Why buy the album that has the EP on that full-length album? You're like, well, I've already bought that EP. There's the songs again on this one.
We just constantly want to evolve as a band. We just kind of want to evolve, and I never want to put out a record that is so reminiscent of the last one that it just feels like part 2, or put out songs that we've already done. I don't think that's who we are as a band. Any
songs off the album standing out more to you than any on it as of right now, if possible? I know these must change every time you guys listen to it or even think about it, but are there any that stand out for you right now?
There are a couple tracks on it that I think that'll be a little bit more eye-opening for people because they're a bit different. There's a song called Come On In, The Water's Pink, which I think is very different. Yeah. And that song title is one that is my favorite one on the record. I came up with that I didn't come up with it. I decided on it at like 3 a.m. It's a Pink Panther episode, but it's also interesting double entendre with bathtub suicide of sorts. So I thought it was interesting and funny. in a clever way. And then also on the record, another song I really like is the last track called No More Blue Tomorrows, which is, the title is a reference to Mulholland Drive, and I think it's a very interesting song because it's long. It's the longest song we've ever written.
Now, you said the title track came from the Pink Panther. Is that right? I just want to make sure I heard you right there.
Not the title track.
The song.
Come On In, the Water's Pink. Yeah. Come On In, the Water's Pink is a Pink Panther episode, actually.
That's awesome.
And that's a piece of information that no one really knows yet unless they do the research to find that out. So
I like the old Pink Panther cartoons.
Yeah,
I'm still an old Transformer guy. I like the old 80s Transformers cartoons. So He-Man, I like He-Man. Good stuff,
Agreed.
man.
Agreed.
Who produced this album for you guys?
So we don't necessarily have a producer, and the way that we record our records is very different from everyone else. At least for this record, we all recorded individually with different engineers, and then the record was mixed by Andy Nelson at Bricktop, and then it was mastered by Brad Boatwright at Audio Siege. But when it comes to how the songs were produced, essentially we produced them ourselves.
I want to give a shout out to the artist as well. His artwork on this album is pretty damn awesome. Who did the artwork for you guys on this one?
No, I totally agree, and thank you for doing this, because I don't think anyone's ever pointed out the artwork, so I could give them a proper shout out. The artwork's done by a guy named Chris Taylor. He was the vocalist for a band called Page 99, and he's currently the vocalist for a band called Pygmy Lush. And he's an absolutely amazing artist that we all very much revere and feel so blessed and lucky that he was willing to work on it for us. So, I agree. I love the art.
It kind of reminds me of Bub the Zombie from
George
Romero. I mean, honestly, if you look at it, it kind of looks that way if you look at it long enough.
I could do that, yeah.
It's cool, man. I like it, and I don't think artists get enough props for what they do on this, because you have to collaborate with the band. You have to see what the band is going for. I mean, you could spend hours on a artwork, and the band don't even like it. So So it's cool. What do you hope everyone takes away from the album, or message you hope they hear while listening to it, or just any Wrist Meet Razor music in general?
As a band, our whole goal was to speak to what's in our heads in a way that was authentic and real. I think we understand as people that the things that we're saying and the things that we're thinking aren't necessarily the most relatable things to most of the public or most people in general. But I also know from what I've gotten from talking to people that enjoy the music is that there's an innate relatability to speaking to the darkest corners of the human psyche. And I just want anyone that can relate to what we do to take everything that they can from it and hopefully get something from it in a way that makes them feel better. Because music is the escape, and it should always be the escape, and hopefully we're able to give that escape back.
That's exactly right, man, and I'm so glad that you understand it, and I hope other people understand that music should take you away when you listen to it, just to get away from the everyday bullshit that we go through. That should be everybody's drug right there, is music. Nothing else. Just do
I agree. Do
the music. We talked about this a little bit earlier. How much growth musically have you seen this band and plus yourself go through up to the release of this album, from EP to EP, now to the album? Or has it just been more of a personal growth for each of you guys, getting to know each other and figuring out what you guys want to do?
It's been very much a musical growth as well as a personal growth. But the musical growth part of it has been huge because all three of us done vocals before. We've never done vocals and played instruments in a band before. So the learning curve at the beginning for that was kind of steep. We all had to get better. We all had to get better at our instruments, and I don't know if you play and sing at the same time, but when you start doing that, you have to create kind of your own skill set to where you just do what you know works, as opposed to, what I in my opinion at least, you have to do what works for you more so than what is the technical way of playing and singing, because I feel like it just differs so much from each and every person, and all three of us use so many different tactics when we're trying to play these songs live and sing them and go through a full set of it. That was a huge learning curve for us from the beginning to right where we are now. Emotionally, the band has just kind of become much tighter into what we were trying to say and what we're trying to do. I think we all understand each other a lot better now, and we understand what direction we want to go with the band, because when you start a band, it's not always the easiest thing to focus it in a way where everyone's on the same page, but now we're on the same page.
When you're coming into the recording studio, do you do anything differently during that writing and recording process to maybe help keep your mind fresh and open, to not get bored, to not let it get stale? Do anything differently, maybe?
I'm not sure I exactly do anything differently, but I like to, it becomes a thing where you put so many ideas together of what you want things to sound like. You've idealized a record in your head, and you think you know what you want something to be, and it's a matter of focusing that and letting it organically grow and just move with the song or with the moment and with the energy of the session, because nothing ever goes exactly how you've written it in your head when you're recording a record. And so that's usually the hardest part, is like you have these ideas, but you've got to let go of them just to service the song the most efficient way that you possibly can.
What can fans expect at a show from Wrist Meet Razor? Have not got to see you guys live as of yet.
Lots and lots of energy and samples and just insanity in general.
Now, we're living in a digital era of recording albums to get albums out quicker. And plus, we got social media now to reach out to more folks who have not got to hear Wrist Meet Razor. Do you like this now to get your stuff out quicker, and plus social media?
Yeah, no, I love it. It's a different industry than it ever used to be. So you have to be very savvy with the social media, and you have to be very streaming savvy as well. You have to know where to stream your music and where to put your music where the most people are gonna see it. But I feel like in some way a little easier, because everything is just at your fingertips, at the fingertips of everyone. So anyone that thinks about your band at any point in the day can just listen to it, and that's good, because all you really have to do is keep yourself in the spotlight, and then people will be listening. So I think it cuts out the middleman a little bit of what used to be the hard part, is getting everyone's attention. Now the hard part is just getting everyone to go to your music. After that, like, you don't have to do too much else, because all the streaming sites are doing it for you.
What does Wrist Meet Razor bring to the table for music that's not out there as right now? I mean, I know you guys are not reinventing the wheel, but what do you bring differently?
I think differently is that difference that we bring to music, and I'll focus it a little bit into heavy music, because what we play is eclectic influences that we want to grow the whole entire genre with. I think heavy music is possibly one of the most benign and like stale genres of music, to the point everyone kind of just wants to redo the same thing. Things that have been happening forever are just continuing to come up and pop up as new things in the genre again and again and again. And we stand as pretty much opposition to that immediately, because the only things that we want to do are progress and evolve and do new things and add new influences that the other bands either are too afraid to or just don't want to do. And I think the hope is that we're able to forge some sort of new culture and new movement in heavy music, where everyone's kind of taking a lot more chances than they have been recently.
What made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you, Justin, that said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there?
I think I was like 13 years old and didn't really have any friends, so music was always the one singular escape for me, and it seemed to be the easiest way to get out there and be able to see the world and escape my bedroom.
Is there a country that stands out or shocks you that Wrist Meet Razor gets support from, possibly?
I don't think any country in particular surprises me. I'm just very grateful that there are people from other cultures that can listen to our band and find things so relatable that they want to see us live or want to bring us overseas to see them.
Folks, Wrist Meet Razor, their album comes out January 18th via Prosthetic Records. You want to get out and pick this album up. Plus, they got 2 EPs that's out there as well. So, Justin, how can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy this new album, merchandise, tour dates, all that good stuff with you all? How can they do that?
I would say the best way possible would be to follow us on Facebook. Just search our name. Follow us on Instagram. It's wrist_meet_razor. Or follow us on Twitter. It's WRISTMEETRAZOR, all one word.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Absolutely. This is Justin from WRISTMEETRAZOR, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and plus our YouTube link, and plus get out and check out Wrist Meet Razor. Great band. Got a lot of good stuff coming your way from that band. So, Justin, best of luck for 2019 and kick ass for us, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for including us.